plastic. Uh-oh, vinyl chloride. Uh-oh. Vinyl chloride. Bomb train number 2. Environmental hazardous waste. More vinyl chloride. And what kind of half-ass thinking is this? There's no bumper car on the end?
Today I want to focus on one aspect of the East Palestine train crash. The official story is that this whole train crash is the result of an overheated bearing. But what are we actually seeing in this surveillance footage? We have one video and one photo from Salem, Ohio, taken around the same time at around 8:12 to 8:13 p.m. And this is the only color photo or video I've seen of the train in the lead up to the crash. We can see the color of the fire looking thing underneath the train car. We see some sort of a flare underneath this boxcar, which appears to burn yellowish orange/white. In the video that we see a minute earlier, if the timestamps are correct, we see a much more pronounced fire, raging at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 locations. Not just under the car, but also seemingly engulfing the top part of the car as well. And for a brief instant, we can actually see some flashes ahead of the primary burn. In this edition of the East Palestine train crash makes no sense. Let's examine the surveillance footage in the moments leading up to the train's disastrous crash. In the last video, we looked at what is supposedly a fire underneath car number 23, that the official story says is due to an overheated bearing. I came across an expert rail worker on YouTube, and he brought a very interesting point up concerning the orientation and the straightness of the car that they were saying was going through a catastrophic failure. Let's watch that clip. It's from a channel called CCRX 6700.
On that security camera, it did not appear like an axle had broke or a bearing had failed and the car had one axle or one truck set off, because those cars appeared like they were in a fairly straight line. If you looked at the tops of them, had an axle broke or something, then that car would have been going down track with a lean to it.
So he says if the axle had broke, the car would be going down the tracks with a lean to it. But watching this video, we don't see any lean at all. So let's start with the footage we have from Salem, Ohio. So we have a color photo, surveillance photo from Salem, Ohio at 8:13 p.m. And it seems to show a big fire or a big flare underneath one of these cars. Presumably they're saying this is car 23. So I found a tool online and I tried to take out some of this fisheye distortion from this surveillance photo. And here's what I came up with. And we can see the train is completely straight. This car is not out of position, it's not out of whack. It's right in line with the cars in front and behind it. But let's turn our attention to the car in question. Does this car look like it's going through a catastrophic failure? Do we see it leaning in any direction? No. It's completely parallel and straight with the car in front of it. Or maybe that's the car behind it. It's hard to tell which direction this is going. But the impacted car and the unaffected cars are right in line with each other. We don't see any tilt. We don't see anything out of whack. Next, let's turn to the surveillance video footage, also from Salem, Ohio, timestamp of 8:12 p.m. And remember, they say the train crashed at 8:54, just 42 minutes after this video was taken. Again, we see a lot of action underneath the car carriage, some sort of a fire-looking thing, but the car is completely in line, parallel with the cars in front and behind. There doesn't seem to be any tilts. There doesn't seem to be any wobble. Besides the fire, everything looks entirely fine. How is it that this car could be going through a total systematic failure of its axle, and yet it's trucking along perfectly? gliding across the rails in perfect parallel action with the other cars. If it wasn't for the fire, there's no sign that anything's wrong. Look at this orthogonal orientation. It's perfectly straight. It's right in line with the rest of the train. There's not even a wobble.
Had an axle broke, that car would have been going down track with a lean to it.
Next, let's turn our attention to the last known video of this train, before its huge crash. This was filmed in New Waterford, Ohio, at 8:46, just 8 minutes before the crash. And again, we see a perfectly straight car number 23. We see some sparks coming off. We see a fire or a light of some sort underneath the carriage. But the car's trucking along totally straight, perfectly in line with the others. I find this all to be very intriguing, given the official story is an axle failure, leading to a massive pileup, a massive fire. Yet when we look at the footage, even just 8 minutes before the crash, there's no wobbling, there's no tilting. Everything is right in line, parallel, straight, gliding across the tracks. How can we have such a raging fire underneath this car? And just 8 minutes later, this axle is said to have a total failure, a catastrophic failure, leading to a massive crash and a huge fire. To me, this doesn't add up. This doesn't make any sense. I think this is a huge revelation because it calls into question the official story of what took down this train. Never forget the movie White Noise with a budget of $100 million of a train crash in East Palestine, Ohio. Filmed in East Palestine. In the movie, a train crash leads to a mass evacuation because of a chemical spill. So this calls into question the official story. And then we have to think of how they could have taken down a train at a desired location. So that's the question. What really happened to this train?
It did not appear like an axle had broke or a bearing had failed and the car had one axle or one truck set off, because those cars appeared like they were in a fairly straight line if you looked at the tops of them. Had an axle broke or something, then that car would have been going down track with a lean to it.
And look at this footage. This huge wall of flames. Does this seem consistent at all with an overheated axle? Or is that just the official explanation? So now let's listen to the official press briefing where they make it clear they have no idea what happened, and yet they're going to be brazenly cocksure that it was because of an overheated bearing.
We know for a fact that this derailment occurred at car number 23. Car number 23 was a hopper car which carried plastic pellets. It was the combination of the hot axle and the plastic pellets which started the initial fire. And during this deceleration, the wheel bearing failed. Car number 23 derailed, and the train initiated an emergency brake application and came to a stop. So the emergency brake application was triggered by the derail. There are a number of causes for overheated roller bearings. These could include fatigue cracking, water damage, mechanical damage, a loose bearing, or a wheel defect, and we will look at all that.
Is there any suggestion yet what actually caused the overheating? You said there's a list of possibilities, but is there any leading candidate what was causing this overheating with the bearings and potentially then the axle?
The question is what was causing the overheating of the bearing and therefore the axle? It's a great question, and it's something we have to look at as part of this investigation.
Brian McGill, Wall Street Journal. I want to talk about the plastic pellets that caught fire with the hot axle. Did that happen before the derailment or after you guys know that?
No, the question is when did the plastic pellets, when was the fire initiated with the plastic pellets? That was after the derailment.
The video that we have, it looks like the bearing's basically on fire or really hot at that point, and I think that is very close to that second detector. Is the condition of it being so hot consistent with the reading that was coming from the detector at that point?
Yeah, so we're still looking at that video, and we're looking at others, and that's why we're trying to find other videos to determine, what was going on there. We believe that it was hot, and at that point, Grease is burning. That's what we believe on the axle. But
And something that I think is very interesting here is they admit to using shaped cutter charges. The official story. So they say small shaped charges were used to breach the tank cars, and the vinyl chloride was allowed to flow into a trench, where it was ignited by flames. So they say they did this right before the quote-unquote controlled burn. But obviously blowing the whole thing up makes zero sense. It's entirely scandalous. But why would they do that? What if it was to conceal the other shaped charges that were used? Possibly designed to create this fire in the first place. To cause the derailment. To cause the crash. Now, if and when people were to analyze the wreckage, if they see the results of a cutter charge, or as it says here on the Wikipedia page, small shaped charges that were used to breach the tank cars, to cause the vinyl chloride to flow out. Well, now there's plausible deniability. Because now they can point at the so-called controlled burn and say, oh yeah, we know there were cutter charges. But it happened after the fire. Absolutely ridiculous. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm still investigating. There's a lot more to unpack. This is just one small sliver of the story. But it's important because it's the official explanation. Or is it the official deception? There are a number of unsolved mysteries. Very peculiar mysteries. When it comes to the East Palestine train derailment. The train crash. But one of the most mysterious is the pre-placed orange car that just happened to be sitting right next to where the train would crash. And both this pre-placed car and where the train would crash corresponds directly, it seems, with Sulphur Run, which feeds into the Ohio River. In this video, I'm going to show you what I found as far as this mysterious orange car. Please share this everywhere because the more eyes we have on this, the more researchers we have looking into this, the higher the probability that we find the answers that we're looking for. The pre-placed orange car, which happened to align right with the first cars caught up in the crash, which also aligned right with the Sulphur Run waterway, which feeds into the Ohio River, and then later the Mississippi River and then the Gulf of Mexico. We can see this car engulfed in flames, fiercely burning. But why was this car here in the first place? And what are the odds that it's sitting right next to where this train crash would happen for months and months and months? And let's not forget the movie White Noise, which just came out and also seemed to have predicted this crash. Why was this car full of flammable material, seemingly, allowing it to catch fire? This makes no sense. I was able to find it on Google Earth, July 2022. And another data set shows it before the crash as well. And it lines up right with where this burning car is in respect to the train crash. Right next to the train crash. How does this make any sense? So let's dive into the mystery of the pre-placed orange car. The first cars left after the train crash were strewn right in front of these two drainage pipes, which are a pretty rare occurrence as far as these tracks go. I scrolled and panned along these railroad tracks for a while and I couldn't find another example of these types of drainage pipes. And they seemingly connect with this reservoir, as you can see in this photo. So why would they have left this car right next to the tracks, in a position that would correspond directly with the East Palestine train crash? Very, very peculiar. So I found two archives of satellite photos, which help us pinpoint how long this car has been placed there. So I found two data sets, the World Imagery Wayback Machine, and also Google Earth. And by looking at snapshots of this area via satellite photos, or maybe it's aircraft photos, I'm not exactly sure how these were obtained, we can triangulate about when this car popped up. And it seems to have been pre-placed at the precise location that the crash would happen about 8 months later. So let's start with the World Imagery Wayback Machine. I have this all linked up in my article, link down below, or just go to timtruth.substack.com. And the first snapshot is dated January the 12th, 2022. But I don't think this is exactly when the shot was taken. I think this is an as of date. So I think this is the data set as of January the 12th, 2022. And what we can see clearly is there's no car where it'll later pop up about 9 months before the crash. But if we go to the next snapshot, as of February the 23rd, 2023, which is actually after the crash, but we can tell from the photo that this is actually before the crash, that it was actually snapped. And in these photos, we can see this orange car in the exact same location. Now, what's very strange is this car catches a blaze, and you can see the top of the car, and presumably the contents of the car, burning bright along with the rest of the crash. It seems like this car was on fire. Now, why would they set a car right at the location where this crash was going to happen and not empty it out? It seems like they had flammable material in this car, right by the mouth of Sulphur Run, which feeds into the Ohio River, which feeds into the Mississippi River, and then the Gulf of Mexico. Why would this car be here, at the precise location of the crash? And how on earth could it catch on fire and burn vigorously? Extremely mysterious situation here. Was this staged? Was this intentional? Did they set this car here with some payload that they wanted to burn off at the same time? The location, both in terms of the waterways and where the crash would end up happening 9 months after it popped up, are extremely suspicious. Now, we don't know what's in this car over these 9 months. It could have just been sitting there, and then maybe something was added to it before the crash. Interestingly and suspiciously, there's very little photo or video of this train car. And as always, if you have any information, if you have any photos, send me an email, timtruth@protonmail.com, and we'll get this information out to the people. Now here it is zoomed in, you can see it right here. And what I did is I overlaid another photo of the crash zone. And I wanted to tell because at first I couldn't really tell if this was the car or not. But alas, I laid over some photos, pre-crash and post-crash, and it's an exact match. This appears to be the car right next to the front of this crash that actually caught a fire itself and burned vigorously. Beyond peculiar. So I was trying to cross-reference because I was like, February the 23rd, which is the date of this satellite imagery, was after the crash. And this looks pristine. This landscape doesn't look like it just had this massive explosion, this massive fire burning for days and days and days. So I didn't really believe the date, February 23rd. And the best way for me to demonstrate that that's not the right date, and that this was actually before the crash, is to look at this photo here from Eric's Train Yard on Facebook. Eric said this was taken sometime between the 16th and the 18th of February 2023. Remember, the crash was February the 3rd, they tell us. And you can see this is a totally different scene. Same location, but now it's just a wasteland. You can see what a mess it is. So we can put the satellite imagery on the left, Eric's photo of the 16th to the 18th of February on the right, and we can see very clearly that this was not taken 5 days after Eric's photo. I'm confident in saying this was taken before the crash. The left photo was taken before the crash. And you can see right here, this mysterious orange boxcar. So when you look into the data for the satellite images, which were dated February the 23rd, there's a website that gives some more information about it. It says this metadata layer and the associated Wayback Imagery layer represent a version of world imagery content as of February 23rd, 2023. So it seems to be as of February 23rd, and not saying that it was taken on February 23rd. So it seems clear that the car was there before the crash. And we have two other data points I want to show you here. This one's probably the most interesting. Google Earth has a satellite image archive, and you can drag this little slider here, and it'll show you the history, the snapshots of the area you're looking at. And the most recent snapshot was July 2022. And we can see, lo and behold, this car at the exact same position. And strangely enough, this car actually catches on fire, catches ablaze. It makes zero sense to me. Why would they just put a car like a tinderbox right where this crash ends up happening, right next to this waterway? All the while they're shipping heavy amounts of dangerous chemicals on these tracks, they tell us. But they just put this car right here. What was in this car? Why was it placed here? Why was it pre-placed at the exact location of the crash. And I also got this message the other day. Hold the Onion told me on Rumble, under one of my videos. The car in the ditch was not from this train. Using non-Google satellite images, I was able to see that the ditch car had been there since at least 5/27/2022. But it might have popped up sometime between the last date before then, the last snapshot before then, and 5/27. So the prior flyover was 1/5/2022. And then about 5 months later, it was confirmed to be there. So we don't know when it popped up. But according to Hold the Onions, it was there from at least 5/27/2022. Possibly longer. But I think the strangest part of this whole situation is this precisely placed train car catches ablaze and can be seen in at least one video, burning fiercely after the train wreck. Now look at this footage very closely. We can see the fire on the top of this car. And if you look around it, it looks like this car is on fire. It's not engulfed in some other fire. This car seems to be itself on fire. So what accelerant is burning here? What's in this car? How does it catch a fire? So to recap, a very strangely placed car, right next to the reservoir that leads into Sulphur Run, which goes to Leslie Run, which goes to Little Beaver Creek, which goes to the Ohio River, which goes into the Mississippi River, and finally into the Gulf of Mexico. Mysteriously also caught on fire? Why was it there in the first place? This was not a minor fire. You can see the roof of the car was blazing. What was in this car and why was it placed right next to the waterway, where the fateful crash would occur 9 months later? Why would a car be sitting in this precise, precarious location? What was the accelerant? What was the fuel that we see burning on top of the car? How much was in there? Why was this car placed on the side of the railway, like a tinderbox, ready to go up in flames itself? Why was it not emptied of flammable material? Or rather, why was it filled with flammable material? Who filled it? Now I'm still looking into this, so please send me any information that you come across. But one thing to note is there's surprisingly few photos and videos of this mysterious car from either before or after the crash. And this is one of the best views we get. This was taken on 2/6, I think, a few days after the crash, and we can see it lit up from an angle. So I wanted to include this as well. But let me know what you think in the comments, or send me an email, timtruth@protonmail.com, if you have any intel into the mystery of the orange car. And share this video everywhere, because this might be a thread that if we pull on and pull on and pull on, maybe we'll find that this whole thing was staged, orchestrated, planned. And then the question is why? And who would do this to the citizens of the town?
The Norfolk Southern disaster in East Palestine, Ohio is connected directly by water to the states of Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. And when you get to the coast, Alabama, Florida, and Texas. People do not understand the magnitude of this catastrophe.
I literally grew up right down the road from East Palestine. My old childhood best friend lives in the fucking town. My current best friend literally lives right next to the town. It is so much worse than what the media is telling any of us. I'm getting reports from people that are down there right now that they're literally seeing schools of fish floating down streams, rivers, fucking dead. I got a video from my friend, okay, and she's like walking, dude, it's all fucking dead. All fucking dead. And on the top of the water is a really pretty chemical rainbow sheet. The chemicals are in the fucking water, and they're lying to the rest of the country saying they're not. The water's been contaminated. The soil's been contaminated. The fucking air is contaminated.
I hear the train a-comin'. As more effects from the East Palestine train derailment come to light, one of the concerns of local residents has been water contamination after dead fish were found in nearby streams.
The Leslie Run comes out of East Palestine, and that goes into Bull Creek, which then goes in the North Fork. And we know for sure that there has been some fish kill in Leslie Run and Bull Creek, and some portions in the North Fork.
We went out to these areas and were able to spot some dead fish in Leslie Run and Bull Creek. At a press conference, officials told us they are monitoring the situation.
We knew at the onset of this incident there was impact to Sulphur Creek and waters of the state of Ohio.
Really bad news, we have a mass poisoning event in the United States out of Ohio. They say it was a train crash, an accidental train crash. I think we have to consider foul play because this falls right into the genocide agenda. Take, for example, what we saw in Canada a few months back. The Canadian government was caught red-handed, purposefully poisoning a lake, and they used fish toxin. Somebody caught them in the act and showed the world what the canister that they were deploying into the river was. A citizen caught them in the act, poisoning the fish.
Yes, probably is pretty dangerous, but we're gonna turn that off. And if it's that dangerous, come on over. So, I got the poison.
We don't have anything to do with this chemical.
And the man confiscated their poison and showed the label, and it was a fish poison. Now in this Ohio city and in the surrounding areas, we're starting to see wildlife die. We have reports of dead birds, dead foxes, dead fish, a dead cat, and it just matches way too closely with what we saw in Canada. So there's a lot to unpack here. It's possible that this is a smokescreen for a larger poisoning operation, because from henceforth, everyone will just assume it was because of this and blame the train company. But what are the odds that we saw the Canadian government poisoning the lake? Dead fish everywhere. We saw 300 dead tons of fish between Germany and Poland a few months back. Dead whales washing up everywhere, around the world. And now we have a major poisoning event in Ohio, United States. And it feeds into waterways that run to much of the United States. Now the government has an excuse, and they can poison the wildlife. Also, this is going to have detrimental effects to the farmlands in that region of the country. Was this the goal? It's going to have negative effects on the water supply. This is an absolute disaster. And I think the reason, as we've covered in prior videos, is they're trying to crash the food supply. And they don't want us to be able to go into the wild and sustain ourselves naturally. I think this is why we're seeing mass poisoning events of the natural food supply.
You guys scooping out all the dead ones?
Right.
After this couple saw dead fish in this creek that you're looking at, they're deciding to not take any chances.
Oh, there was hundreds.
Russell Murphy is referring to the fish now belly up in Leslie Run. He and his wife noticed them last night, barely 48 hours after the fiery derailment 5 miles away.
This is huge, huge environmental effects.
That's now one of many concerns the EPA now faces.
The impact of the fish, yes, there was a impact to those. However, the levels as we have seen it are protective to groundwater. We are aware there are some wells along that for residential wells.
Environmental cleanup crews were at and actually in that water today. So are these booms, which are used to catch and stop anything that shouldn't be flowing here, or into water wells, which Murphy uses for just about everything, including his livestock.
Your family, and you're bathing in it, you're using it for eating, you're drinking it. We got livestock, a couple horses, and we got pets, and you know, is this stuff safe to drink?
At today's press conference, the EPA says it's safe.
We have been able to successfully control that runoff and contain the water and either treat it in place along with a robust sampling program for the water quality and we continue to expand that, and that will continue throughout this operation.
However, this iridescent sheen and those dead fish, to Murphy, tell a different story. One with an ending he is not looking forward to.
The health effects, the long-term environmental effects, the waterways, I mean, this is bad. It's bad.
Now, I have reached out to Norfolk Southern, the company at the center of this derailment, asking them what could have caused this fish kill, what kind of chemical. I have not heard back. Now, we have heard officials talking about what's called vinyl chloride and other substances associated with the derailment. However, they say those are vapors.
Please leave the area.
You literally are about to see some of the worst fucking health side effects coming out of people in that town. It's not even funny. And y'all want to know something even more fucked up? The restaurant that I work at in a whole different state had to donate food to them because we had people from the churches calling to tell us that Red Cross never fucking came, FEMA never fucking came, the environmental conservationists still have yet to fucking come, and nobody's fucking helping them. Meaning all of the fucking firefighters that were working get no food, have nothing to help them, nothing. Okay, all the people that were displaced have no food, water, a place to stay. None of that shit. It is so much worse than what they're telling you.
been hearing all of your calls about your animals suffering and getting sick, some even dying. And it's not just causing problems for the animals, it's also causing problems for their owners as well. Taylor Holzer and his family run Parker Dairy. It's just outside East Palestine's original evacuation zone. Taylor is an ODNR registered fox keeper. A couple of his foxes broke their legs trying to run after the initial derailment. One of his foxes even died.
Out of nowhere, he just started coughing really hard and just shut down, and he had liquid diarrhea and just went very fast.
Taylor tells me all of his foxes have been sick and acting different since the weekend. Some have abnormally puffy faces, including the one he's holding. He says they are not eating properly. Many are dealing with stomach issues and are acting lethargic.
This isn't how a fox should act. He's very weak, limp. His eyes are very watery and weepy.
Some of the foxes are pacing rapidly in their pen, another sign they are not well. Taylor says the train derailment is causing all of these issues.
Smoke and chemicals from the train, it's the only thing that could cause it, because it doesn't just happen out of nowhere. The chemicals that we're being told are safe in the air, that's definitely not safe. For the animals? It's for animals or people.
Taylor hopes justice is served for the animals and people of East Palestine.
People's cats are getting sick and dying, and people's other birds that they have in their house that they weren't being able to evacuate either. It's not safe.
Now, like you heard at the beginning of this story, one of Taylor's foxes did die. He now has to get a necropsy on that fox to determine the cause of death for it. Now, every animal owner, whether it's a pet or agricultural animal, farm animal, poultry, this has to be done. A necropsy has to be done to determine that cause of death. There are a few ways of going about this. To set one up, pet owners, like for a dog or a cat, must contact their veterinarians. Farm animal and poultry owners, they have to contact the Ohio Department of Agriculture. And companion animal owners, they have to contact the Ohio State University.
These fucking crows. I'm not kidding. Wait. Where? This is within 10 miles of East Palestine. And I think all of the crows are coming here. They're just everywhere. They're everywhere. It's so fucking crazy.
Well, it appears that the derailment caused a chemical weapon to be unleashed on the people and the animals there. Now, we've heard bits and pieces of this story in the news, but I wanted to give you an in-depth timeline of what happened there. Friday, February 3rd, 38 of the Norfolk Southern's 150 cars derailed, and 11 of them were containing hazardous materials. And that derailment caused some initial fires to start, and that ignited these hazardous toxic materials. Now, on February 4th, the EPA detected contaminated water in two nearby streams, Sulphur Run and Leslie Run. Then, 2 days later, responders conducted a controlled burn to eliminate the remaining vinyl chloride, and then that's when we saw these mushroom clouds of toxic fumes and chemicals. I mean, it's striking. I'm sure you've seen the pictures. 2 days later, the governor in Ohio, Mike DeWine, announced, "Hey, it's safe." Just 2 days later, right? This is 5 days after the initial derailment. Said, you know what? Hey, it's safe. I mean, they gave the evacuation order 3 days after, so 3 days went by before they said you even have to evacuate. And then 2 days after that, they said, no, it's fine. You can go back. Everything's okay. Then a week later, Norfolk Southern was supposed to go to a meeting with the people there. You know, well, don't they deserve answers? I mean, shouldn't they go and explain themselves? But then that company pulled out because they said, oh, we're afraid of going. We feel that this might be dangerous for us to be there because people are upset that basically a chemical weapon was launched on them. How dare they? So then 4 days later, utilities in Cincinnati and northern Kentucky shut their water intakes. This was just a week ago. Their water intake valves over concerns of toxic contamination. The found chemicals there. And then, just a couple days ago, on Thursday, February 3rd, the NTSB found that overheated wheel bearings caused the derailment. And the chair said this was 100% preventable. Now, I urge you, please go out, read the report, go to the NTSB website, and check it out, because the findings they have are damning. Now, I mentioned that those water intakes were closed, and these are just a couple screenshots from the articles about it. The city of Cincinnati announced last Friday it stopped taking water from the Ohio River because chemicals were found in it. That's great. And then utilities in Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky shut the Ohio River water intake valves early Sunday morning because they also found contamination. And reports of fish dying en masse. And I'm going to get to that later in this report. The shocking number of animals that have been either sickened or killed from this it's unbelievable in this short amount of time, but I'm going to get to that later. So one of these toxic chemicals was vinyl chloride, and they decided to do a controlled burn. I mean, they call it controlled burn, right? But they can't really control where the toxic fumes go. Interesting. But I guess what they mean is that it's not just going to explode out of control. And I understand, it's a difficult situation they got put in, that they still had these remaining containers and chemicals, and they thought this could blow up and send shrapnel and be very, very dangerous. So it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation with how to dispose of these. I mean, we'll see after a lot of these investigations are done if that was the right move or not. Now, this slide here, this is showing what chemicals were being transported on this train. And the fact that this took so long to even come out is crazy. Whoever bought these and was being transported on this train, they must have known what was on it. And Norfolk Southern must have known what was on it. I'm sure they had the manifest at the ready. Why it took so long for this to be disclosed really needs to be found out. So I urge you, pause this, read this. These side effects are just terrifying of what could happen to these people because of this. The burning of these chemicals basically resulted in phosgene being put into the environment, which is a chemical warfare agent. Yep, that's right. It's an old poster from, I believe, World War I era, maybe World War II, but it was used in World War I as a chemical warfare agent. And this is just a picture of this smelling case of war gases used for training, so people could smell just little doses of these different gases, so they would learn to recognize them and say, hey, I gotta put my gas mask on, I gotta get out of here. This is a gas, this is a chemical weapon. And the first one there circled, what is that? Phosgene. That's what was put into the air in East Palestine. And I just highlighted some of the problems here that can come from this. Phosgene, pulmonary edema, lung abscesses, degenerative changes in nerves, contact burns to the skin, eyes, shortness of breath, chest pain, severe pulmonary edema, death even. And so far, I mean, we've seen people exhibit all of these symptoms in the area, and animals as well. Here again, it gives more information about this, and you can go ahead and pause this and read it if you want, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to just note the highlights. That pulmonary edema may develop, leading to death in some cases. Okay, now just recently, on February 24th, East Palestine train derailment has killed more than 43,000 fish and animals. It's almost incomprehensible in just such a short amount of time. Fish, crayfish, amphibians were killed, and that's only within a 5-mile span that they looked at, and probably more larger distance out, probably more animals are dying. And this story here is about a student that is studying this on the ground there, Sam Hall. And Sam has found thousands of dead animals. It's a screenshot of what this student has found. Sam says here, it's a catastrophe. Everything is dead. There's nothing. You shouldn't walk through a creek and see piles of dead things floating past you. It should be life. Hall goes on to say, dead frogs, dead crayfish, dead fish, everything in the creek is dead. And it was all just sitting on the bottom covered in fungus, rotting. And there's just a terrible chemical smell through this entire valley. Hall wanted to see the aftermath of the disaster for himself. Hall says, it's not natural. And it will go downstream, and it releases these crazy fumes that burn your nose, and I don't know, my eyes are starting to get a little itchy just standing over here by the creek. And that's not the only one. Taylor Holzer runs Parker Dairy, registered with ODNR as a fox keeper. Says 2 foxes have died since the derailment, and several others are still very sick. It raises the question, if all these animals are getting sick and dying within days and weeks of this disaster, what's going to happen to the people who are living there in the months and years to come? The people of East Palestine and the other impacted areas, which seem to stretch for at least tens of miles around it, maybe more, need the truth. They need every ounce of help that Ohio and the federal government can provide, and they need all of that right damn now. The longer these people have to wait for help, the harder it will be to fix. Now, despite all this evidence, the Ohio government is saying it's safe to be there. The EPA is saying it's safe. Mayor Pete saying, hey, it's safe, don't worry about it. They refuse to take responsibility for a disaster that happened on their watch because they think it makes them look weak. Right? These people, they're all about everything's fine. We got things all under control. No problems. We're perfect. Nothing bad is going to happen on our watch. They want to give that appearance as if they're flawless. Nothing's wrong. And when anybody gives that type of impression, whether it's someone in government, someone in business, it comes from a place of weakness or them just not even caring. They are more concerned with their own image and their own perception than they are about reality. But in reality, taking responsibility and working as hard as you can and as fast as you can and as smart as you can to fix a problem is actually a strong sign of leadership. Remember, these are the people who have worshipped at the altar of science over the last few years. They lectured you to trust the science. But when real science, real observations, real testing shows the truth, they ignore it. It's almost as if they use science as a shield only when it fits their agenda. That's not science. At best, it's ignorance. At worst, it's evil.
These aren't storm clouds. This is the fucking shit that they burn off, the fucking shit they burn off in East Palestine. This is not fucking storm clouds. Look at it. This is over Darlington. This is their fucking success. That ain't no fucking storm cloud. That's the fucking shit from East Palestine. They're fucking controlled burn. get out of here. I wish we could get the fuck out of here. Motherfuckers. You fucking greedy motherfuckers. Impatient bitches. You could have fucking waited. You could have fucking cold the tanks. You could have transferred the contents. You didn't have to do this. You did it because of time and money. That's exactly why you did it. This is what is like, you know, I think the whole thing about it exploding, I think that was all a bunch of horse shit. You know, I'm saying it was totally exaggerated so they could find themselves justifying to do this. You know what I'm saying? Because they were allowing it to slowly burn off. So then they knew they were going to face a lot of pressure because of that. So they went ahead and figured out they manipulated the situation. They manipulated so that this is all from the burn off right there, from the explosion that they created, they detonated. And all of it is. None of these are storm clouds. None of these are storm clouds. Take care, sweetie. My God. My God, can you believe this? Huh? We're in Darlington. We're in Darlington right here. Can't believe they did this. Just can't believe it. I'm not no bleeding heart liberal. You might call me some kind of a however you want to label me. If you were standing here, you'd feel exactly the same way. If you wouldn't, then you'd have to be semi-brain dead. These are not storm clouds. This is from the fallout. Look at this. From the burn-off of the hazardous materials in East Palestine, Ohio. Look how dark it is right there. And this is to my north here. That's where the sun is setting, over there. To the west. This is to the north. But it's throughout the whole sky. These are not storm clouds. This is a scene from Darlington. They got Route 51 blocked off. And this, all that you see right here, this is all the burn off. This ain't storm clouds. This is the burn off from it. Go around. North Eva! Pull up and off. Yeah, come back. Okay, go ahead. But this is all from the burn off. This is all from the burn off. And it doesn't matter, they blocked us off here, Route 51. This is where all the shit is. It's going up into the atmosphere, going up. Atmosphere. They say fucking atmosphere. It's going up into the sky. And it's going to come down. Where is it going to come down? How bad is this shit? They didn't even give any projections. Because they really don't know. They really don't know. All of this that you see, these are not storm clouds. This is the fucking hazardous material that they fucking detonated those cars that were damaged there in East Palestine. This is Darlington. This is a few miles from there. Everybody, this is criminal what they've done. Absolutely criminal. Absolutely criminal. So irresponsible. Are you telling me you couldn't wait? You couldn't wait? You couldn't have more patience? You couldn't cool the cars? You couldn't take several days to go ahead and get other tankers in there to extract the materials, to move them safely? You had to go ahead and burn them?
To make matters even more suspicious, police in this town arrested 3 people. 2 for breaking curfew, and one journalist who was going to a press conference with the governor of Ohio. And they also arrested a journalist covering the governor's press conference.
Do you understand how quickly our lawyers will get me out?
I don't
We
care.
don't care.
Sorry, can we
I
talk?
don't
Just
care.
Just talk out here. Just talk outside.
Go.
Just talk outside. Come on,
Out the
outside.
doors.
Come on.
Out the doors. Out the doors. By other media right here. I'm going to listen.
I don't
because
care.
It's my
You're going to
job.
walk out the door.
I'm going to listen.
You're going to walk
Do
out
not
the door.
touch
Come
me.
on out, sir. You're going to walk out the door, or you're going to jail.
Do not touch me.
Sir, can we talk outside, please?
I'm trying to
Can we talk
listen.
outside, please?
And he escalated with me. I am doing my job. This is covered by the First Amendment.
Excuse me, sir. I'm the building supervisor here. Please leave.
There you have it. Maybe you stand right here.
You're going to stand
Because
outside.
You all stand
Or you're going to jail. Come on. Let's go. Let's go. Come on. Out. 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 Yeah. You're under arrest.
Under arrest. Excuse me, sir. Oh, sir.
Oh my God. You guys, this is bad. Stop.
I am on the ground. What are you trying to do? Okay,
Stop resisting. Stop
You are
this.
under arrest.
Oh my God. Stop. You want to get this. I will. This is so bad.
Put your leg on your back.
Lay
flat, please.
You want to get this. This is so bad.
Put your leg on your back.
This is bad.
Lay flat, please.
You guys, he's a national correspondent. You cannot do this.
I'm a reporter with News Nation. It's all being recorded right now.
I hope it is. This is
Excessive
horrible.
work, because you can't talk to people about doing their jobs.
Oh my God, I cannot believe this. This is horrible.
This is what it's like to be a reporter. in
Evan, I'm so
2023.
sorry. Evan, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Sia.
Roll over, sir.
Can you please loosen this?
We will.
It hurts.
That
one is a little tight, so we are
Oh my God.
Thank you very much.
News Nation says the reporter, Evan Lambert, was told by local officers to stop his report because they thought he was being too loud. They say that led to a discussion. Then officers led him out of the building and arrested him.
Stop resisting. Stop this. Stop.
We reached out to East Palestine police but have not heard back, but there is late word tonight that Lambert was released in the past hour. During the news conference, Governor DeWine was made aware of what happened and said he did not see the incident.
There were reports that you were not necessarily looking at any sort of action regarding the adjutant general and the reporter who was arrested. Is there going to be anything after this?
Well, as you know, this matter is turned over by the local county prosecutor to the attorney general. I remain, I have the same opinion I had the first day, and that is that I would hope that charges would be dropped. I think that would be the best thing. Whatever happened after the general walked away, the reality is that the reporter should not have been stopped, period. So it shouldn't even started that way. And I understand, people may have different feelings about what happened afterwards, but the initial stop, the initial confrontation, or the initial contact never should have occurred. So taking that into consideration, it seems to me that everyone would be better off if we just, if the Attorney General could see fit not to proceed with any kind of prosecution.
Have you talked to the adjutant general about the initial confrontation?
Yes. Yes. Look, I think the general, regrets that. I explained to him, how press conferences work, and that frankly that sometimes during a live press conference someone will be reporting directly. Someone could be right now standing back there and reporting if they wanted to. And that's they have the right to deliver the news however they want to deliver the news. So yes, we've had a conversation, and he he regrets the whole situation. So.
Back in the year 2012 in Paulsboro, New Jersey, there was another train crash that looked very different from the one that we just saw in Ohio. And it was reported that that train was carrying vinyl chloride, and that you could see plumes of what the news was calling carcinogenic poisonous gas. I've been watching how the media is spinning what happened in East Palestine, and a lot of it seems to be gunning after the plastics industry and this chemical, vinyl chloride, which is what they use to make PVC pipe. PVC stands for polyvinyl chloride. It seems like the shipping industry and the plastic industry are under the gun. So the obvious question here, in my opinion, is why do these look so different? In Paulsboro, New Jersey, we see this white billowing smoke. In Paulsboro, New Jersey, the gas is white, and it looks like billowing smoke. They say the vinyl chloride will consolidate at ground level, because they say it's heavier than air. But we're seeing two very different depictions of vinyl chloride. Back 10 years ago in Paulsboro, New Jersey, we saw a blanket of billowing smoke-like gas, which is conspicuously absent from this year's East Palestine train crash. Where is the billowing, white, smoky blanket of vinyl chloride? These are huge inconsistencies in what is supposed to be the same chemical. Let's listen to how the news covered this so-called vinyl chloride spill. This documentary just came out. It's on a channel called All the World's a Stage, about the vinyl chloride that was alleged to have been spilled in this train crash in East Palestine. It was the chemical on everybody's lips. Watch this.
It was carrying 20 cars of hazardous materials, including vinyl chloride, a highly flammable toxic gas that causes central nervous system problems and has been linked to a host of cancer.
14 cars carrying vinyl chloride were involved in the derailment and have been exposed to fire. At least one vinyl chloride car is intermittently releasing the contents of the car through a pressure relief device as designed.
Tonight, we take a closer look at the chemical at the heart of the train derailment danger.
Yeah, it's vinyl chloride.
Vinyl chloride.
Vinyl chloride.
Vinyl chloride. Vinyl chloride.
4 cars that are filled with vinyl chloride.
One of which was the chemical vinyl chloride.
A lot of other vinyl chloride tankers.
This is a vinyl chloride, which is a flammable gas.
According to the National Cancer Institute, vinyl chloride is a highly flammable gas. Exposure is associated with an increased risk of liver, brain, and lung cancers.
Of vinyl chloride.
Vinyl chloride.
Of vinyl chloride.
The government needs to do so much more, starting with why are we producing so much vinyl chloride?
Carrying a chemical called vinyl chloride.
Carrying vinyl chloride.
A chemical called vinyl chloride.
Tank cars of toxic vinyl chloride.
Use to vinyl chloride can be extremely dangerous.
Vinyl chloride.
Vinyl chloride.
5 of the cars that derailed were carrying vinyl chloride, which is associated with an increased risk of certain cancer.
This is some bad stuff.
4 cars that are filled with vinyl chloride.
This stuff is serious.
Of vinyl chloride.
The cars containing vinyl chloride are...
They detonated the train cars that had that vinyl chloride.
14 cars carrying vinyl chloride.
5 of them contain vinyl chloride.
Vinyl chloride.
For employers, it's not only are there signs plastered all over the workplace to warn workers about the dangers of vinyl chloride, but also companies have to do medical monitoring.
Vinyl chloride.
Of the derailed train cars carrying vinyl chloride.
With vinyl chloride.
I've been watching, it's carrying vinyl chloride.
Vinyl chloride?
Vinyl chloride is a gas.
The gas itself that's being evaporated into the atmosphere is heavier than air, so it does stay close to the ground.
Carrying hundreds of thousands of pounds of vinyl chloride used to make PVC pipes.
Cars carrying vinyl chloride.
Burn something called vinyl chloride.
Some vinyl chloride.
Train car is releasing a chemical called vinyl chloride intermittently.
5 were hauling vinyl chloride.
Those symptoms are linked to the toxic vinyl chloride. All of the vinyl chloride.
5 of the derailed cars were carrying vinyl chloride.
Vinyl chloride
is vinyl chloride.
Of main concern was something called vinyl chloride.
Was a vinyl chloride of toxic chemicals like vinyl chloride.
Vinyl chloride.
Train car is releasing a chemical called vinyl chloride intermittently. Train car is releasing a chemical called vinyl chloride intermittently.
The gas itself that's being evaporated into the atmosphere is heavier than air, so it does stay close to the ground. The gas itself that's being evaporated into the atmosphere is heavier than air, so it does stay close to the ground.
So why does the aftermath of East Palestine look so different from another vinyl chloride spill? That of Paulsboro, New Jersey, in 2012. So if this is actually vinyl chloride, why does it look so different from the aftermath of Paulsboro? Completely different characteristics of supposedly the same chemical.
This sun rising over Paulsboro would make for a great postcard, except Raylan Stevenson's camera captured the calamity of the Conrail train derailment here on November 30th, 2012. The cloud is the cancer-causing gas vinyl chloride, an ingredient in so many products we use, leaking from one of 4 freight cars that tumbled into the creek just feet away.
4 cars into Mantua Creek, one releasing a cloud of 20,000 gallons of vinyl chloride.
There was a big white cloud, and I told my friend, I said, man, I've never seen fog like that. It's so white. There was a big white cloud, and I told my friend, I said, man, I've never seen fog like that. It's so white.
But investigators say for 20,000 gallons of toxic vinyl chloride.
Train cars in the water and a few more cars teetering, getting ready to fall in. And then the big cloud. In a few minutes, you couldn't see anything.
Can you see it? Chemical cars. All in the creek.
This plume of the dangerous chemical vinyl chloride was released into the air at 7 o'clock this morning after an apparent bridge collapse into the Mantua Creek. The chemical escaped and vaporized into the air, and the remainder self-refrigerated into a frozen state, sending scores of people to a local hospital to be treated for respiratory problems, burning eyes, and one tank car cracked, sending up a hazardous chemical vapor cloud that lingered over the neighborhood where Schubert lived. They couldn't see the words vinyl chloride on the tankers. In fact, first responders seen standing in the carcinogenic cloud with the breached tanker just yards away.
Terrifying scene in a small town, a train derailment that sent hazardous chemicals, a gas called vinyl chloride, spewing into the air. More than 70 people sought medical treatment for burning eyes, labored breathing. And ABC's Lindsay Davis is on the scene.
Thousands of gallons of the hazardous chemical vinyl chloride spewed into the air from the ruptured car. Residents were told to stay in their home.
Ours is leaking toxins into the creek near the Delaware River. Now, authorities say most of the danger has passed. It's an accident that happened this morning. This railroad bridge actually collapsed. You can see there the aftermath of all of this. You had schools that were close by where they were quickly put on lockdown, and the folks in the immediate area were all evacuated.
Paulsboro train derailment. The tanker cars derailed on a bridge on November 30th, 2012, and released vinyl chloride. It's a toxic gas into the air. Fox 29's Don Timoney is live in the newsroom with details on the report. Don.
Well, Lucy, the National Transportation Safety Board found plenty of blame to go around. Federal investigators are faulting Conrail for the derailment and local officials for their response to the resulting toxic gas release. Now, 4 tanker cars tumbled into the Mantua Creek in Paulsboro, where the train had crossed a pivotal bridge designed to swing open for boat traffic. One tanker ruptured and leaked 20,000 gallons of vinyl chloride. Toxic gas release. Toxic gas release.
There was a big white cloud.
And the big cloud. In a few minutes, you couldn't see anything.
I've never seen fog like that. It's so white.
So what we see is massively different outcomes in the aftermath of these 2 train crashes. Massively different scenes after these accidents. Why is vinyl chloride showing up in Paulsboro as a blanket next to the ground of white, smoke-like gas? Whereas in East Palestine, it's nowhere to be seen, even though they say they spilled much more in East Palestine. Where is it? Why can we not see the same white gas we saw in Paulsboro? So why do these two train crashes, East Palestine and Paulsboro, look so different? Why does the New Jersey train crash in Paulsboro have this expansive blanket of white gas, which they said was vinyl chloride? The same chemical that they said a few months ago crashed in East Palestine. But where is this white gas? This heavier than air gas? I don't see it. I haven't seen it in any of the video.
So here we are at the fire on East Taggart. I guess it started with a train derailment. Now it's traveling all the way down the tracks.
So let's review some footage from the aftermath of the train crash in East Palestine. We can see a big pileup of what they said was carrying the vinyl chloride, these tanker cars. But where is the vinyl chloride? Why do these train crashes look so different when we're told huge amounts of vinyl chloride were spilled in both? What are we looking at here? Why can't we see the plumes of the vinyl chloride? Where is the vinyl chloride? And was any actually spilled here? Again, they say that the vinyl chloride is heavier than the air, so it should be accumulating and blanketing right over the ground. Again, we have the aftermath of the East Palestine train crash in the middle of the video, and we're comparing that in the corner to another train crash said to have been carrying vinyl chloride. It looks so different. Were we lied to about what these trains were carrying? Were we lied to about what was in these train cars? What actually was being carried in these cars that crashed in East Palestine? So where is the vinyl chloride in this footage? I don't see it. It doesn't look anything like the New Jersey Paulsboro footage. Yet they tell us it's the same gas, the same chemical. And they say much more of it spilled in East Palestine than in Paulsboro. But where is it?
At least one vinyl chloride car is intermittently releasing the contents of the car through a pressure relief device as designed.
So this guy here from the NTSB said at least one of the cars carrying the vinyl chloride was intermittently releasing the gas as designed, he said. Yet we don't see anything. We have footage late at night showing the big line of the cars with the fire. There's no blanket of white gas at any point in any of the footage. It bears little resemblance to Paulsboro, if at all.
This plume of the dangerous chemical vinyl chloride was released into the air at 7 o'clock this morning after an apparent bridge collapse into the Mantua Creek. The chemical escaped and vaporized into the air, and the remainder self-refrigerated into a frozen state, sending
one tank car cracked, sending up a hazardous chemical vapor cloud that lingered over the neighborhood where Schubert lived.
They couldn't see the words vinyl chloride on the tankers. In fact, first responders seen standing in the carcinogenic cloud with the breached tanker just yards away.
There was a big white cloud, and I told my friend, I said, man, I've never seen fog like that. It's so white.
Another part of this excellent documentary by All the World's a Stage is analyzing the witness testimony of the smells noted. So the official story was an obscene amount of vinyl chloride was spilt and burnt off. But vinyl chloride is supposed to have a sweet smell. A couple of people reported something smelling like paint thinner. Another man said it smelled like an over-chlorinated swimming pool. How can this be the perceived smell of vinyl chloride? Let's go to the clips.
Vinyl chloride is a gas with a sweet odor. It is highly toxic, flammable, and carcinogenic.
If you're in East Palestine right now, it smells like, I don't really know the word to use. I guess paint thinner would be the word that I would use right now, because that is exactly what it smells like. It smells like paint thinner, and that is vinyl chloride.
Vinyl chloride is a gas with a sweet odor.
It smells like paint thinner. It smells like paint thinner.
Vinyl chloride is a gas with a sweet odor.
It has a sweet smell, but it's sweet smell, but it's sweet smell, but it's...
Saturday, we were in my room, which I had the door closed, and it didn't smell in there. But my son came out and he was like, "Oh my God, it stinks, Mom. It smells like paint thinner." And I'm like, "No, it doesn't." I got up and come out, and it smelled like really, really strong paint thinner. And then his eyes turned like bloodshot, and he started coughing, and I was like, "Yeah, we're leaving."
It's with a sweet odor.
Well, I'm outside my house here. This is at night, roughly around 10 o'clock. East Palestine, pretty close to the crash site. You don't smell it so much during the day, but you could definitely smell it at night. Over-chlorinated swimming pool, or I don't know, some other kind of chemical, cleaning compound. I don't know. It stinks. So definitely on the cooler nights. The breeze takes it away during the day, and I don't know if it's the sun or the weather or whatever it is, but at night, definitely smell it. So hopefully it doesn't smell forever like this, or at least hopefully it ends sooner than later. All right, guys, stay safe.
What happens when they disturb the waterbed? Look at these chemicals. Look at these colors. These chemicals, and it has kind of a butane smell to it.
Oh my God, you can smell it. If you can smell it through our N95 masks. Yep.
And a lot of smoke. The smell is undescribable. You could taste it. It was like a metallic. It was just nothing I've ever smelled before.
A smell that coats the town.
Yeah, it smelled like Sharpies and banana Laffy Taffy.
It's an interesting combination.
Oh yeah, not a pleasant one though.
Appreciate that. Here's to you. Thank you.
Tell me what you've been experiencing health-wise. Have you noticed anything, a smell in the air, as some report?
Well, it's funny because, I live close by and I don't notice the smell here, but at the shop, it comes and goes. You'll smell it, then you won't smell it.
little anecdote here, though. Probably wonder why I'm out here away from any railroads or anything. As y'all know from East Palestine, though, they're shipping that hazardous waste and stuff. Well, one of them is close by here, and actually two of them is. Would be right here by Ross Environmental Waste Incineration. Right there. And off in the distance there, you can see where they're burning all that crap. Now, they started trucking this stuff in today, although I haven't seen any trucks pull in here from that site, though, but this is where they're bringing it. And this place has been under scrutiny for many, many decades because people here complain of health problems with them incinerating medical waste, hazardous waste. Bad idea. I'm going to go down here and show the entrance here real quick, and I'll be right back in a second. Here, the entrance of Ross Environmental Systems. As you can see, they're burning a bunch of crap right now. Anyway, this is what they're bringing that stuff from East Palestine. And this place has been under scrutiny for many decades because people here in Eaton Township has complained about health problems. They burn medical waste, hazardous materials, you name it, they do everything here. So that's what they do here. And there's signs down the street, though, saying we don't want biosolids in Grafton. Okay. The next site I will be showing you, though, later on here would be from Victory. So, anyway, for your information, though. And we got a tanker coming in. Let's take a look. 3082. Well, you know what? More likely that came from East Palestine. .3082, environmentally hazardous substance, NOS. He's getting out going to guard shack. .3082. I won't bet on that's what's in there. Some of that stuff. And down the road here is a view of the sign down there. Ross Incineration Environmental Systems. Well, folks, Grafton, this is where they're bringing it. And like I said, though, the next shots, though, after this will be from Victory, where they're dumping it up by the lake shore in a deep well. So here comes another one. 1993. That could be. That says Ross on the back. So it looks like they're not wasting any time here. So, okay. We'll see you on the next trip. at the second site though from the last trip though from Ross Environmental Waste Systems. Right here, I'm out here in Victory, Ohio. Right there. This is the second site in Ohio, other than East Liverpool, that they're dumping this stuff from East Palestine. Yeah, it was a Brinks truck went by. Could use some money. But this site is not where they incinerate stuff. This is the site where they dump this hazardous waste into an extremely deep well. And not too far from here is Sandusky Bay. In fact, it's about a half mile as the crow flies. Went over there, you got a truck backing in there. Who knows what's on there? Old guard shack over there. Okay, I'm gonna go down by the entrances over there. See if I can see anything coming in. From what I understand, that they're supposed to be bringing like 3 or 4 loads of that stuff a day from East Palestine. So I'm gonna go on down here and see if I catch anything coming in and out of the gate down there, so I'll be right back. Back here again. This is the gate where they bring all this hazardous waste. And over here is probably where they dump that stuff into the ground over there. From the aerial shots though, from the satellite though, this is what it appears to look like. Again, Sandusky Bay is about half a mile away as the crow flies. So I'll continue on down here, or take a look. See, we got a truck coming out right now. There is a hazmat symbol on the side. I can't make out what it might be. Good thing there ain't no traffic on this road. But my guess that sticker on that truck was probably 3082, hands in the weight. Alright. Anyway, thought for your information, I'd show you the site though where they're dumping that hazmat stuff. Okay. Get you back there. Added a little bonus here. Here's a distant shot over here from the other side. What's under that dirt pile? No telling what's in there. In fact, look at this. Let's go follow him. See what's on there. I don't see any hazmat triangles on the back. Oh yeah, I do. Turnpike is real close by here too. So that turnpike would take you down around East Palestine, down through Youngstown. There's a triangle, but there's nothing on it. Anything on the side? Nope. Wonder why. All right. At least you get an idea what's going on, but I wouldn't doubt there was some of that stuff coming from down there. All right, see you later. One more shot I did find. This is on the west side. There is stuff here. And it looks like they got a little pond over here too. Wonder how contaminated that water is. And way in the distance there is a pipeline that looks like it runs over to a little bungalow over there or something. Probably where they dump the water, and for all I know, all this waste and stuff is coming up into this pond, so go figure. I'm gonna see if we can get another shot somewhere else, take a look what's going on here. All right, we'll be back with you. Okay, Mike and 8RBI radio back, and would be a track hole in the way. We do have a train passing over the area of the derailment. Of course, he's got a slow order, so. Boy, that loco's all duded up with graffiti. I think this one's going to take a while to get through here. Although I did hear the defect detector go off, and I don't recall if it said how many axles or wheels on this, so I guess we have to count them. Another shot at that tanker there. What a mess. See the other couple tankers up there mangled up. And from what I understand from WTOL Channel 11, it contained hot wax. Yes, it can be hazardous though, but from my understanding though, once it's hardened up, it no longer becomes a hazard. So I guess in the hot state though, it is hazardous. And I did mention the other day, we did see some hazmat white triangles, that said hot on it. So I'm pretty sure that's probably what was in these cars when it went over. Yeah, this is going to take a while.
Hey, do I have your permission to normal to the 3 switch at 242? You did Holly over.
4500, yeah, Ollie, you're good to throw that switch in.
Alright, and also, I got a train to go north of Diamond. Do they need to talk to you, or can I just line it north over?
Roger, I'll talk to you.
Alright.
Now, whether they fix these tracks or not on the site of the derailment, I don't know. They're probably using the other one, so. Might see down there in the roadway under the bridge, there's a lot of water or liquid down there. I assume that's water. And there's the end already, so. Okay, there she goes. Get another look here. Here's another shot from the other side of the tracks of this derailment. See all the train wheels all collected there together. Everything else. But it looked like they worked and got the tracks put back together if they were mangled up. This happened yesterday afternoon, and I was in Wellington doing the Lorraine, West Virginia Railway yesterday, so. Yeah, wow. But anyway, here's, like I said, here's the other shot here. Nothing coming. Thought I heard a train horn though. I do hear a train horn. It's coming from behind me. Okay, now that you've seen some of the damage here, do have a yellow light, and I would assume it's going to be on the track next to me, so we'll be right back. This is Mike, N8RBI Radio. Okay, back at you. Here comes a train that was behind me. About 3 minutes elapsed before it came into sight so I could see it. Like I said, there's definitely a slow order in play here, so. Unknown how long this is going to be, but it's going to be slow. Looks like they're probably moving, what, 15 mile an hour, maybe 20. That may be a little fast. Defect detector must be just right down there, a little ways. Probably further than I think.
Norfolk Southern, milepost 239.3, track 2, no defects.
Must have got ordered to go a little faster. You know, anytime on a site like a derailment site or track workers, they do slow down, toot the horn a couple times. And once the lead engines are already past, though, they do pick up speed. I've noticed this lots of times before in the past. And there's the end. There she goes. Okay, I'm at a site of another train derailment here in Ravenna, Ohio. So, as you can see back here, we got a car in this front of this, well, right next to this landowners here. So let's take a look around here and see what we got here. Got an auto rack over here in this guy's side yard. Got a hopper car there. Sure is the best here in Ravenna. I'll tell you. Let's see what else we can see. More back there. As you can see, we got brand new Jeeps in these auto racks. I'm sure they're pretty well damaged up. See what else we got. And you do hear it. There's more wreckage here. A lot of rock salt though. But it's amazing how quick they got these tracks put back together. They got to keep America moving. They definitely do.
It's coming this way.
Yeah. Yeah, I do documentaries on this stuff, though. Promote public safety at railroad crossings in history, though, too. So I put the word out to be careful with the crossings and stuff. You ever get stuck on a crossing, though, there's always that blue sign, too. So I promote that pretty heavy. And as I say, I always give a thumbs up for the guys on the men and women of the railroad. And here she comes. $95.36. And of course, they got a slow order through here, so where the workers are going. $19.87, that would be dead-tuned alcohol in these cars. As you see, we get more cars sitting here. A lot of alcohol in these cars. Right in there, you can see where the rail is jointed together. That's where the clicky-clacky is coming from. Now, I'm not sure what channel this particular line is on or frequency, so I haven't had time to scan through it and find out. looks like they put all these joint plates in and on these rails. It's probably only a temporary fix till they can come out here with a seamless rail and probably replace it entirely, but looks to me like it's temporary. There goes the end. And there she goes, right on over there. And as you can see, there's some cars up over here. Alright, we're going to walk on down along here. Maybe I should have walked along there. And as you can see, kind of a mess, so we're going to see if we get another shot somewhere else around here. So we'll take a look here and we'll see what's going on. So, all right, we'll get another clip here in a moment here, and we'll see what's going on at another part here. Yeah, this thing derailed right between two warehouses, not warehouses, but storage units. Still see no hazmat thing anywhere. Confidentially, I don't think these EPA guys over there like what I'm doing either. Take one pan here left, one more time. All right, good. I got a blue container in there. E-tank. Okay, that's the same kind of tank that was in Sandusky, Ohio. Can't see. See some trucks laid here, among other things. Apparently this happened Monday night, the night I was in New London. Huh. I guess I missed it though. From what I understand, this is what happened in New London, or here in Greenwich. Since then, you can see they got, looked like the tracks all replaced and everything. So, take a look over here. Yeah, usually I park right over there, that spot there, and so it had occurred here. Oh, we do have a car sitting there. Y'all probably know I've been here before, so. What a mess. From New London though, and it happened that morning around noon out here, so see what else is down here. You know, on that day, that morning, New London, on that bonus clip of the last video, I was going to come out here. Yeah, these appear to be intermodal cars of what's left of them. But in this video, though, I will show actual footage of it occurring, though. Video came from one of these, I think it came from, yeah, I'll show it when I come back, but wow. I didn't realize the zoom was in like that. Sorry about that. Now it'll be more stable as I walk. I doubt if we'll get any train action through here, but yeah. I don't know if there's any more cars than that. Well, could have been worse. But anyway. WJW Fox 8 in Cleveland. Unfortunately, I had to do a video on top of a video off the computer screen. There was no actual footage to be able to download anywhere, so I had to improvise. Unfortunately, this video was all stuttery and jerky and stuff, though, and no matter what I did, it was always the same on the phone, whether it's on the PC. And as you can see, I was having trouble focusing on that. The sad thing is, none of the other news stations that I could find had actual video footage on this available to be seen. Shame on them. Fox 8, though, was the only one.